There is a night I want to take you into. It is not a night you have heard preached very often. It is a night on a lake. The sky was clear when they set out. Nobody expected what was coming. A group of grown men, some of them fishermen by trade, men who knew that water better than they knew their own homes, got into a boat. They had done this 100 times before. They knew the currents. They knew the wind patterns. They knew what that lake could do when it wanted to. And on this particular evening, they were not worried at all, because the man they were following had just finished teaching a large crowd. He was tired. He got into the boat with them, and almost as soon as they pushed off from the shore, he found a spot at the back of the boat, put his head down, and fell asleep. Now hold that image for a moment. Asleep in a small wooden boat on open water. That is where I want to start today. Because before I tell you what happened next, I want you to sit with how ordinary this moment was. Nobody thought it was strange. He was just tired, resting after a long day. But the lake had other plans. Partway through that crossing, something shifted. The wind picked up, not gently. Not the kind of wind that just cools your face. This was violent. The kind of wind that comes out of nowhere and turns a calm surface into something else entirely. Waves started climbing over the sides of the boat. Water was coming in faster than it could be bailed out. The men who had spent their whole lives on that water, men who were not easily frightened by weather, started to panic. This tells you something important. If experienced fishermen were afraid, this was not a small storm. This was the real thing. The boat was rocking hard. Ropes were probably slipping out of hands. Somebody was likely shouting instructions that nobody could hear over the wind. And in the middle of all of that chaos, Jesus was still asleep. Through the shouting, through the waves crashing over the sides, through the boat tilting one way and then the other, he did not stir. I want you to picture the disciples looking at him. Some of them probably could not believe what they were seeing. Their friend, their teacher, was lying there with his eyes closed while they were convinced they were about to die. At some point, the fear became too much to hold in. They went to him and woke him up. And they did not wake him gently. They were desperate. They asked him directly if he even cared that they were about to drown. That is the kind of question you only ask when you are truly afraid. Not a polite question, a raw one. He got up. He looked at the wind. He looked at the waves. And he spoke to the storm the way you would speak to a person. He told it to be still, and it obeyed him. The wind stopped. The water went flat, just like that. No gradual calming down, no slow fade. One moment it was violent, and the next moment it was completely still. The men in that boat were stunned. They had just watched something that did not fit anything they understood about how the world worked. He turned to them and asked why they were so afraid. He asked if they still did not understand who he was. And they sat there, soaked, shaking, staring at each other, trying to process what they had just witnessed. Now, why am I starting here today? Because I think a lot of us are in that boat right now. Not literally, obviously, but the feeling is the same. Something in your life has picked up wind lately. Something that used to feel manageable does not feel manageable anymore. Maybe it is your finances. Maybe it is your health. Maybe it is a relationship, or a decision you have been putting off, or a season that just will not let up. And in the middle of that, you are looking around, and it feels like everyone else has it together, while your boat is taking on water. Here is what I want you to notice about this story. Jesus was in the boat before the storm started. He did not show up after things got bad. He was already there, already present, already in the middle of what was about to happen. And when the storm hit, his response was not panic. His response was rest. He was not ignoring the danger. He simply was not carrying the weight the way the others were carrying it. That is the whole message today. God is saying something very simple to you. Relax and watch me do the rest. Not because your situation is small, not because it does not matter, but because He is already in the boat with you, and He has never once been surprised by a storm. I want to slow down here and really unpack what it means to relax in the middle of something that is genuinely hard. Because I know how that word can sound when things are falling apart around you. Relax can sound like a word for people who do not understand your situation. It can sound like something people say when they are not the one drowning. So I want to be careful with it. This is not about pretending the wind is not blowing. This is not about telling yourself the water is not actually rising. The disciples were right that the storm was real. Jesus never told them the storm was not happening. He simply was not being shaken by it, the way they were. There is a difference between denying a storm and not being ruled by it. That difference is what today is about. When God tells you to relax, He is not asking you to close your eyes to what is going on. He is asking you to stop carrying it like it depends on you alone. Because it does not. You were never meant to calm your own storms. You were never meant to be the one holding the boat together by sheer effort and worry. That was never your job. Your job was always smaller than you think it is. Your job is to stay in the boat. His job is everything else. I want to bring in a verse now that has meant a lot to me, and I think it will help you see this more clearly. Philippians chapter 1 verse 6 in the Amplified Translation says this: I am convinced and confident of this very thing, that He who has begun a good work in you will continue until the day of Christ Jesus, developing that good work and perfecting and bringing it to full completion in you. Read that again slowly if you can. He who has begun a good work in you will continue it. Not you, but Him. The verse does not say that you started something and now you have to finish it on your own strength. It says He started it, and it says He will continue it. That word continue matters. It means this is not a one-time act that He did and then walked away from. It is ongoing. It is happening right now, even in seasons that feel like nothing good could possibly be forming. Especially in those seasons. Because a lot of the deepest work God does in a person happens exactly during the storm, not after it. Think about the boat again for a second. The disciples thought the storm was interrupting the trip, but it was not interrupting anything. It was part of the crossing. It happened while they were on their way to where they were going. And in the middle of that very storm, they saw something about Jesus that they never would have seen on a calm night. They saw His authority. They saw that His rest was not weakness. It was trust. Your storm is not interrupting what God is doing in your life. It is part of the process He already started. The verse says He is developing that good work in you. Developing is a slow word. It is not instant. It is not a switch that flips. It is a process, the same way a photograph develops, the same way a seed develops underground before anything shows up above the surface. You do not see most of that development while it is happening. You just feel the pressure of it. You feel tired or unsure, or like nothing is moving. But something is moving. It is just moving in a place you cannot see yet. And the verse goes on to say that He will perfect it and bring it to full completion. That means there is an ending point. This is not a project that gets abandoned halfway. It is not a boat that gets left to sink. It is something that gets finished on purpose by the one who started it. So when God says relax and watch me do the rest, this verse is part of what he means. He is saying, I already started this. I am not new to your situation. I am not confused about what is happening in your life right now. And I am not going to stop in the middle of it. Beloved, one of the mistakes you can make is thinking that the danger of the storm is bigger than the presence of the one in the boat with you. That is usually where we get stuck too. We are not wrong about how hard things are. We are just wrong about the size comparison. We measure the storm against ourselves, and of course it looks enormous. Of course, it looks like too much. But that was never the right measurement to use. The right measurement is the storm against him. And against him, it was never a contest. One sentence was enough to end it. He did not need a long process to calm that lake. He did not need hours. He spoke, and it stopped. I say that not to make you feel like your situation should resolve instantly, because life does not always move at that speed, and I am not here to promise you a certain timeline. I say it because I want you to remember the scale of who you are dealing with. The same one who spoke to that lake is the one who is with you now. He has not gotten weaker since that night. His voice has not lost its authority. The wind and the waves obeyed him then, and nothing about that has changed. I want to bring in the second verse now because it fits so naturally with everything we have been talking about. Philippians chapter 4 verse 19 says this, "And my God will supply all your need according to his riches in glory by Christ Jesus." Read the wording carefully. It does not say your need will supply itself. It does not say you will figure out a way to supply it yourself. It says, "My God will supply." That is a statement about who is doing the work. Not you straining to make something happen. Him supplying it. And notice the phrase, according to his riches in glory. That is not a small resource. That is not him giving out of what little he has left over. It is giving according to abundance, according to a supply that is not limited the way ours is. Bring that back to the boat. The disciples had nothing that could calm that storm. No amount of rowing harder, or bailing water faster, or shouting louder into the wind was going to fix what was happening. Their resources, their strength, their experience, none of it was enough for that moment. But it did not need to be enough, because the solution was never going to come from their side of the boat. It was going to come from him. That is what verse 19 is saying about your need today. Whatever you are short on right now, whatever feels like it is running low, whether that is strength or clarity or provision or peace, the answer to that shortage was never supposed to come from your own resources. It was always going to come from his. That is why relaxing is not passive laziness. It is actually a decision to stop trying to be the source of something you were never meant to be the source of. You are not the source. You are the receiver. That is a different role than the one most of us try to play. Most of us try to operate as if we are the source, as if the outcome of our lives depends entirely on how hard we grip, how much we worry, how many hours we spend awake trying to force a resolution. And I understand why we do that. It feels responsible. It feels like caring. But there is a version of care that actually gets in the way of trust, and I think a lot of us are living in that version without realizing it. Jesus being asleep in that boat was not him being careless about his disciples. It was the deepest form of trust you can picture. He trusted the situation to his Father in a way that allowed his body to actually rest while everything around him was falling apart. That is what it looks like to relax and watch someone else do the rest. It does not mean you stop caring. It means you stop believing that the outcome depends only on your effort. My friends, I want to bring both verses together now because I think they answer two different fears that most of us carry. Philippians 1:6 answers the fear that you are not going to make it, that whatever good thing started in your life is going to stall out or fail before it gets finished. That verse says, "He who began it will complete it." Not might complete it, will complete it. Philippians 4:19 answers the fear of not having enough, the fear that your need is bigger than what is available to meet it. That verse says, "My God will supply according to his riches, not according to your lack." Between those two verses, you have an answer for the fear of failing and the fear of running out. Both of those fears live inside a lot of people quietly, even people who look completely fine on the outside. And both of those fears are the same fear underneath, which is the fear that everything depends on you. Once you actually believe that it does not all depend on you, both of those fears start to lose their grip. Not because life gets easier, but because you are no longer trying to hold the whole weight by yourself. I want to speak for a moment to whoever is dealing with something they have not told many people about. Maybe it is a financial pressure you have been quietly carrying. Maybe it is a health concern you are still waiting on answers for. Maybe it is a relationship that has been unraveling slowly in ways that are hard to explain to people who are not in it with you. Whatever it is, I want you to hear this clearly. The one who is asleep in that boat is not asleep to your situation. He knows exactly what is happening. He was not caught off guard by the wind that hit that lake, and he is not caught off guard by what is happening in your life right now. His rest was never about ignorance. It was about authority. He rested because he knew who he was in relation to that storm. He is inviting you into that same posture, not because your storm is small, but because he is not small in relation to it. Now, beloved, I want to speak a blessing over you. So receive this as a benediction over your life and over whatever storm you are walking through right now. May the peace that was in that boat be the peace that settles over your home. May the one who calmed that lake speak the same word over whatever is rising in your life. May the good work he already started in you continue without stalling, without failing, all the way to completion. May every need you carry be met, not according to what you have, but according to his riches in glory. May you find rest, real rest, not the kind that depends on your circumstances being quiet, but the kind that comes from knowing exactly who is in the boat with you. And may you walk away from this today, lighter than you came into it, having laid down what was never yours to carry in the first place. Go in that peace. Before you go, I want to ask you for something, and I want to ask it humbly. If this reached you today, if any part of it landed on something you needed to hear, would you take a moment to like this video? It genuinely helps this message reach someone else who might be sitting in their own storm right now, wondering if anyone understands what they are going through. And if you know someone, a friend, a family member, anyone who has been carrying more than they should be carrying alone, would you consider sharing this with them? Not because this ministry needs applause, but because someone out there might need exactly this word today, and they might not find it unless you are the one who sends it to them. Also, beloved, I would like you, if this is speaking to you right now, if you needed to hear that he is still working even when you cannot see it, to type this in the comments. I will remain still in the presence of God. Thank you for spending this time here. Thank you for being honest enough to sit through a message like this. I do not take that lightly, and I am grateful you were here. Amen.